Welcome to the review. Solo: A Star Wars Story is the second film in the Star Wars anthology series and stars Alden Ehrenreich, Emilia Clarke, Donald Glover, and Woody Harrelson, and is the story of a very young Han Solo, as he basically grows up as a street rat on the streets of Corellia, who always dreams of going farther and becoming the greatest pilot that ever lived. Soon, him and his friend Kira hatch a plan to get off the planet and eventually get a ship of their own to go wherever they want to in the galaxy. But during their escape, Kira is captured and Han is forced to go alone. He finally joins the Imperial Army and becomes a pilot, and soon he joins a group of smugglers led by Woody Harrelson's character, and they eventually go on a smuggling venture to get something of great importance for a gangster. And this leads them on a crazy adventure filled with a lot of what we love about Star Wars, and also we get to see the fated meeting of Han Solo and Chewbacca. Guys, when the Han Solo movie was first announced, I had no interest in it whatsoever. It's not a movie that I wanted. In fact, it's not a movie that a lot of people wanted. Nobody wanted to see a Han Solo movie because only Harrison Ford could be Han Solo, and why do we need to know where Han Solo came from? But after seeing this movie, this is the movie I needed. Because I was not a fan of Rogue One. Rogue One to me was just a fan film through and through, just filled with fan servicey moments for the Star Wars faithful, and that was all it was. It was just a big fan film, just filled with so many little Easter eggs that's all that movie had. That's all the substance that movie had. Here, all that is gone. There's little to no fan service. There is some, and we'll get to that later. But through and through, this is a perfectly fine film with some great action and some really good acting. And honestly, I think it's a very underrated film, seeing as how it didn't get the best reviews, although it got pretty positive reactions, but it's so much better than what Rogue One was. And I think people need to just see that this is a fun little space movie that is perfectly harmless. First off, I want to talk about Alden Ehrenreich as young Han Solo and how he does. And to me, he's fantastic. He's absolutely perfect. Now, a lot of people might be like, oh, he's not Han Solo. Well, I think people are looking at Han Solo as Harrison Ford, like you can't separate the two. But you have to remember, actors and characters are different. You have to separate the two. Yes, Harrison Ford was Han Solo. He was Indiana Jones. But that is a character and that is an actor. And what Alden Ehrenreich does here, he doesn't try to do a Harrison Ford impersonation, which I was afraid of that was what was going to happen. And to me, that would have been awful. But what Alden Ehrenreich does is he inherits the spirit of the character of Han Solo. He's not trying to do a Harrison Ford impersonation, which is perfectly fine. But what he does is really good stuff, and he also has a smirky attitude that you could see out of a young Harrison Ford, and I really like that, and I like what he was able to do with this film. He's got a lot to play with. He's funny, snarky, and a bit of a badass, but he has a very human side to him that I don't think you could have gotten with a Harrison Ford performance, and I just really liked his performance. And that's where I'm going to lead into something else. Another character and actor, Donald Glover as Lando Calrissian. He did not do it for me. I was so disappointed with Donald Glover's performance. Because when the movie first came out and we got the initial reactions, everybody was praising Donald Glover Donald Glover was so good as Lando Calrissian. He was perfect. They were gonna end up maybe doing a Lando movie because of it. And to me, whereas Alden Ehrenreich was doing his own thing and inheriting the spirit of the character, Donald Glover is just doing a Billy D. Williams impersonation, and that's all he's doing. And it's very disappointing because anyone can do a Billy D. Williams impersonation. He doesn't really inherit the character. I'm just seeing a guy pretending to be a young Billy D. Williams playing Lando Calrissian, and that was really disappointing. So overall, what did I think of this movie? I had a lot of fun, guys. This was very entertaining from beginning to end. In fact, I saw this movie twice in the theaters because I just enjoyed it so much. It has this Western type feel to it that really fits with Han Solo and the type of movie it is, being a smuggling movie. And also, what I like about it is the movie doesn't really have a villain. It does in the form of Paul Beatty playing this gangster-type character, but he's in it for such a small amount of time that really there's not a clear villain, and a lot of people might see this as a problem, but you don't need a great villain or a villain at all in a movie. It's more the task that these characters end up doing that is the antagonist. It's more about their journey and the obstacles they have to go through. That's the antagonist, and that's what I like. I don't think you need to have a big bad guy at the end of the movie. Also, I really liked how small-scaled this movie was. That was one of my problems with Rogue One, is how self-important it made itself be with the whole Death Star thing and getting the plans. And yes, that's, an important thing in the Star Wars universe, but I didn't care. I didn't care about any of the characters in that movie. But here, all these characters are likable, and some of them don't stay around for long, and yet I still care about them more than I did with any of the other characters in Rogue One. I don't think a lot of people want to say that Rogue One was bad, but guys, Rogue One wasn't that good. It's just a fan film. This is an actual film with a story that's not bent on just giving us recycled things that we've seen over and over again. This is a different story, and it's a lot of fun. My biggest gripes with the movie, honestly, are one that I didn't have a problem with the first time I saw it, but the second time I really started to notice it, and it is that the cinematography is pretty dull. This movie, for the most part, is completely black. Nothing is lit well at all, and it just makes the movie look very ugly. And that could be a problem for some, because I don't think you want to look at a murky picture for so long. Because the movie's about 2 hours and 15 minutes. But I was so swept up in the story and the acting and just having a blast that it really didn't bother me that much. However, there is one thing that bothered me a lot, and it is the droid character, L3, who is basically there to put in some social issues that feel out of place. I wouldn't have a problem with it if it wasn't so, blatantly just pushed in your face at times. Luckily, L3 is not in the film for that long, so it didn't last very long, but it was enough to be I just didn't want to have that, or at least so blatantly obvious of what they were doing. But other than that, I really enjoyed this film and thought it had less problems than what people were saying. This movie's not bad at all. This movie's a lot of fun, and I'm glad I saw it. After seeing Rogue One, I wasn't sure if I ever wanted to see another spin-off Star Wars movie ever again, or at least a movie that didn't focus on lightsabers. Because maybe Star Wars magic was with stuff like the Jedi and other things like that in the Force. But Han Solo changed my mind on that and showed that you can make a fun, action-packed movie with characters you've known before coming back and really enjoy it. It's really funny because I was looking forward to Rogue One, probably mostly because it was going to be the first spin-off movie, and I was so disappointed by it. And I had no interest in Han Solo, but I really enjoyed it in the end. And Ron Howard does a terrific job, aside from his cinematographer. Ron Howard does a great job here, and I wish this movie was more of a success because I honestly would like to see more Han Solo movies, or movies by Ron Howard in the Star Wars universe, because I think he was a great fit here when he stepped in for Lord and Miller. Also, what I really liked about this film, what Larry Kasdan and his son did with the screenplay, is they didn't try to make Han Solo like he is in the original trilogy. They tried to do a young, naive Han Solo. They tried to show him as somebody that's optimistic and just carefree. And we see that in the film. We see a different Han Solo, but by the end of the movie, we see a Han Solo that is changed, and there comes a point in the movie where Han Solo, I think, finally becomes the Han Solo that we see who shoots Greedo in the cantina. And that was a really powerful and really good moment. I have one final thing that I'd like to talk about, and it's a problem I had with the film. Earlier in this review, I mentioned that the film was basically devoid of fan service, aside for one instance. There is some fan service littered throughout, but to me, it's so little that I never even noticed it. But here, there comes a point at the very end of the film where we get introduced to a character that was in the prequels. And to me, it didn't exactly work. It was really cool to see, but I was just scratching my head wondering how would people react to this. And also, it just felt very forced in and unnatural. It would have been more interesting if it was somebody else that we didn't know, but it left off in a interesting direction that I would like to see a sequel to this movie, but I'm afraid we're not going to get it because this movie flopped. Yeah, it made enough money to make its budget back in a little bit more, but I just don't think we're going to get another Han Solo movie, and to me, that's really disappointing because this was a really fun film that I don't think gets enough credit because people are so attached to stuff like Rogue One. And with all of this said, I give Solo: A Star Wars Story an 8 out of 10. Guys, I really enjoyed this movie a lot, and I'm glad I saw it twice, and I can't wait to see it again. It's really a very underrated film. Well guys, that's all I got for you, so don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next review.